want brain damage.
And you get wonky.
You get wonky. Oh, I love that. You can get wonky. You have people with brain damage, different degrees. Have you ever known somebody who had a stroke? Like a grandparent, and it took them a long time to get some speech back. I have 2 friends that died from a stroke last year. That one of them, she had a stroke in her sleep, and so it's really tragic. But they just couldn't, she lived for about a week, but it was just really sad. So stroke is the same thing as brain damage. It can cause brain damage, which you can lose things like thinking and memory. They have to learn how to walk again, all this kind of thing. So we're trying to prevent brain damage by doing CPR if somebody goes unconscious and they stop breathing. If they're breathing, is your heart pumping? Yes. You can't be breathing unless your heart's working. But it's possible to have your heart working and not be breathing. But we don't check for pulse because pulse is hard to find. We just look for breathing, and if they're not breathing, we're going to start CPR, starting with the chest compressions. So let's watch how to do it. But before we get too much into it, we divide people into categories really based on size. An infant is under a year. So this is what the infant mannequin looks like, under a year. By the time they're standing and walking, we consider them a child. They're a child until they hit puberty. So the mannequins on the floor, these are child mannequins. Child and adult CPR are almost the same. There's only minor differences between how you do it for a child and how you do it for an adult. The big difference is 2 things. When to call 911 if you're alone, and a bigger body, you have to push harder. So you got to push the chest on an adult at least 2 inches. But for a child, we go about 2 inches deep. And then you have to blow less because it's a child. Where a bigger body, you would have to blow harder to get the lungs to inflate. So you're just looking for chest to rise. And then the other difference is when to call 911 if you're alone. If you're alone with an adult, what do you think happened to the adult to cause them to go unconscious? What's a likely scenario?
Well, sometimes
Heart failure. If they have a heart, have you heard of heart attacks?
Yes.
If they have a heart attack and they go unconscious, you know what we call that? We call that cardiac arrest. In cardiac arrest, the heart and the breathing both kind of stop. The heart just fibrillates, and what do they really need in order to survive? If they're in cardiac arrest, they need a thing. Have you seen it? I'm sure you've seen it on TV. It's a thing. What do you really need if you're in cardiac arrest? A defibrillator. Excellent. Good memory. They need the shocker thing. Have you seen it on TV? They need the defibrillator. Who brings the defibrillator? Paramedics, 911. So if it's an adult, they look like they've hit puberty and they're unconscious, you got to go call 911 before you start CPR. As soon as you find they don't wake up, you go call, because the paramedics are the ones who bring the defibrillator. If it's an infant or a child, is it likely their heart that caused them to go unconscious? No. It's usually a breathing problem. So you're going to have better luck with an infant or child. Okay? We're going to watch the whole video.